everyone. I'm Geeta, founder of Impact with Influence. And today I want to share one of our... I love this story. I love this story because it started with a ball of confusion and it has brought us to Stephaney. Welcome. Tell us what you closed last month on. Like, what was your revenue last month?
Last month I closed 91,000 in revenue.
91,000 in revenue.
91,000.
Oh my God. Okay. So now that we've dropped that bomb, Stephaney, tell everybody what Selna Consulting is about.
So my business, I actually consult with attorneys on the back end. However, aside from that, when I met you, I realized I could actually teach other nurses how to do exactly what I did. And in discovering that, came my coaching side, right? So now I have the nurses that I coach and groom to have their own business, just like I have, to generate revenue. Again, our clients are attorneys. So the 91,000 in revenue is all associated with the coaching side. It has nothing to do with my personal business. So it's all coaching.
And this business did not exist when you first started with Impact with Influence, correct?
My attorney? Oh, no, not the coaching, not whatsoever. I don't even think I knew that I could do that.
Okay, so I just want to give everybody a little backstory here because this is my favorite part, right? Is like we look at sometimes when people come in, they're onto an epiphany session, they're kind of sad or they're ashamed, and I'm like, no matter how oogie it is in that moment, I love it because I know what's going to happen next, and then we get to tell that part of the story knowing that it is firmly in the past, and that's my favorite. So here's the backstory with Stephaney. We almost canceled her epiphany session because when we read her application, we're like, she probably, I don't know, she doesn't know what she's doing. It's not at all clear. What I'll tell you what it was. It was not at all clear that you had any idea what your coaching business could be. So sometimes we get people who apply to work with us and they're like, oh, coaching sounds fun. Lots of other people seem to be making money doing it. I'm just going to go get in on the action, but they don't have an expertise, right? And we can't help people like that because if you don't bring us something to work with, we can help you build a business. What we can't help you do is build the expertise that the business is based on. That's the part you have to bring to us. So when we read your application, we were just like, I don't know. But it was too late. Like it was very close to when the call was going to happen. I was like, okay, screw it. Fuck it. I'll do the call. So I also got on the call myself because I was like, I don't know. I was expecting it to be a very short call, where you tell me that you don't know what you're doing and you're not sure what your experience is and whatnot. And then I tell you, this is great. Go join our Facebook group. That's the appropriate step for you at this moment in time. You're not ready for the program right now. So that was the intention with which I got on the call. So tell me what you were expecting.
I don't know. I think I was expecting someone to come in and be like, I was already expecting someone to just say you're doing it wrong, right? Because I had gotten to the point where I was like, obviously what I'm doing isn't working in my business. Like, screw it, I need a coach. Had no idea that I would become one myself. But in the call is where you helped me discover that I was already doing it in my corporate role. And you were like, why aren't you doing that for yourself? And I was like, oh, I don't know, actually. I'm literally a speaker.
Your exact words were, but that would be easy.
Yes,
but that would be easy. Like that would be a bad thing somehow. So tell us a little bit about what your health situation was at that point as well.
Working in corporate, I just basically eat, slept, and built the business for the corporation, the department I worked in. So I was a speaker for them and I traveled into a little bit of that, but all my time and energy went into corporate. I didn't sleep. My kids didn't know that I slept, I don't think. It was daddy's bed. So mommy stayed up late and got up before everyone else. It was pretty much just the sacrifice, right? Don't sleep because there's always something more to do. And if I'm going to grow or build anything, I have to just keep pushing. And that was basically my life, I think, before I realized that I could take back all of that time and still not lose any productivity.
Exactly.
And gain it, right?
Right. So while talking to Stephaney on that call, I realized, oh wow, this girl is legit. Like she is really smart, really accomplished, has this crazy amazing skill set. She has no idea what the opportunity is. That's what I saw. So then when we talked about like, can you see yourself doing this? And you're like, but that would be easy. It's
Yeah,
like,
I
you
when
seem to
you
have an
just
objection to that.
you said that, and I was like, I already do that though, but that's the easy part. And you were like, yeah, Stephaney, you already do it. It's easy. And I was like, oh, okay. So what do I do now?
Right. So then Stephaney ended up signing up, and we gave her some rather unconventional advice, especially in an 8-week intensive. What did we tell you to do, Stephaney?
I got on my first call a week later. I signed up on a Friday, and the following Thursday, you guys were like, here's your homework. Go sleep. And I am not kidding you. I was like, that's the stupidest thing anyone's ever told me to do. Like, sleeping isn't going to get me anywhere. Why, that's the first piece of advice. So, it's what everybody does when they come into a program. It's a challenge. You want to be open-minded, but then you're like, seriously? It's the simplest things, though. When I took the advice. I went to bed, right? I listened to the hypno tracks, and I straight up took the advice, because the only thing I can tell anybody is if what I wasn't doing wasn't working. So no matter how great I thought that advice was or wasn't, I was going to do it. And I did it, and I slept amazing for like the first time in years. And that was a moment of real clarity when I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a new person. Like, I didn't even know this person existed anymore. I'm a whole new person. And this is amazing. Like my head was so much clearer. All these freaking amazing ideas were coming to me. And like, it was just like an explosion of amazingness. And I think from then on, I was like, I'm never, ever sacrificing sleep, ever again.
And we're like, winning, because we knew, because when she did her first mindset session, her mindset coach reached out to me and be like, she's super dysregulated. This woman does not sleep. We need to get her sleeping, because otherwise she's going to implode. She's going to burn the fuck out before the 8 weeks are done. And that's just from what she's already doing, not adding any impact with influence stuff to it. So that's why we gave you that advice. And again, kudos to you for taking the advice, because it is exactly what you needed. And you wrote this beautiful post a little bit further down in the program. You wrote a beautiful post in the Facebook group where you shared what it was like before you needed to plan everything and know all the details. And it felt like you really needed a high amount of control, and you needed to know what was going to happen before it happened. And now you're more comfortable sort of moving in the dark, is how you described it. And can you tell us about that? Because that was beautiful.
So one of the things I realized was that in my getting overwhelmed, in my busyness, right, business, it was just a sense of overwhelm. And for me, the solitude came in just sitting in the dark. So I would go meditate and put myself in a dark room, close my eyes, and visualize nothing but me sitting still in the darkness. No movement, nothing to smell, like no sense. None of my senses could be heightened in any way, to just find peace. And there was so much growth and stimulation in that. Number one. Number two, it became a way for me to stop expecting to see something. I found myself getting distracted by one sense, right? If I couldn't see it, it couldn't happen. But I learned to trust other instincts, to trust that I could feel my way through the dark, right? We have 4 other senses that can be heightened at that time, which offer so much strength. And it's real when you can just trust yourself. So without seeing what was coming, I decided I have to trust that I can do this. And there is a hiccup here and there. However, I will find a solution. I will overcome it. I will grow into this, right? And I will keep exploring. It became something that I started doing all the time, actually, because in the beginning it was like reset, overwhelm, right? Reset, overwhelm, because there was so much growth happening in the first, 4 or 5 weeks of the program. I felt like it was every single week I was like, okay, I'm overwhelmed again. Okay, I'm overwhelmed again. So that's why I think I realized it so early on, was because it was a repeat. And I thought, this is where I can take myself to really, truly, number one, right, find clarity, to desensitize myself to focus, but then also to allow myself to rediscover or just discover things in a different fashion. A lot of times I realized that for myself, right? It used to be seeing is believing. And I will completely flip that now. I'm all about believing is seeing. And
Mm.
the last thing that comes to me now is visually seeing what my future holds. It's everything else, right? And I look back now and I'm like, oh, that totally worked. Oh, I was trusting myself to do things where I'm like, I have no idea how this is gonna work out.
Can you give
But it's
me, yeah, can you give me a concrete example of like a specific thing that you tried? Because I think when I can just imagine of an earlier version of me or even an earlier version of you, Stephanie, before we worked together, watching this video right now and being like, what the fuck did she just say? Like,
so
what does that look like in real life?
so just the next step, right? What's the next step? And then I would sit there and go, I have no idea what the next step is. Okay, now I have this coaching program. So what is inside of it? No idea, right? Didn't even know where to start. We're like 8 weeks, 8 modules, and I'm like, great, what's module one? But even that, to trust and go, this will come to me. Give yourself space, Stephaney. Give yourself room to explore, and it will come to you. And it comes in the most interesting fashion, right? Like in the middle of the night when you wake up out of a dead sleep and you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, I actually wrote my modules at 4 a.m.
I believe it. And I just want to say, first of all, one of the practices that Stephanie talks about, which is visualization. If you haven't read my first book, How to Live Your Vision, go read it because I talk about it in great detail in that book. And Stephanie has her own twist on visualization that we'll discuss in a second. That's one. My second book is actually called The Power of Ponder, and it's all about letting your subconscious do the heavy lifting, where you basically give it the right question and then you give it silence and space. You give it, and when I say silence, what I mean is not you have to be in a quiet room or you have to be in the dark necessarily. You can go out for a walk. You can be walking the dog. You can be cooking Subway. What it means is that you're not focusing hardcore on the problem with your conscious mind. You're allowing it to be taken backstage. You're allowing the whole issue to be taken backstage where it's dealt with by this incredibly powerful part of yourself. 90% of you lives backstage. And most of us struggle because we're trying to solve it with only the tools we have front stage. And I think this is something that you intuitively grasped. And I love that. So let's talk about your tea of freedom. Is it freedom tea of freedom? What are we calling it these days?
It can be whatever.
Tell us about
It
the
can be
ritual.
whatever.
Tell us about the ritual because I love one of my favorite parts of this work is seeing my idea or my practice or my work evolve in somebody else's hands. And Stephanie, this was a classic beautiful co-creation that we had. So I had the concept of visualization, how it works. Again, read my first book, How to Live Your Vision. It's on Amazon. But you then took it to the next level. You made it physical, which I think a lot of people who struggle with meditation would really enjoy doing. So tell us, sort of walk me through what that ritual looks like.
So I enjoy hot tea. It's a thing of mine. I'm not a coffee drinker, so tea is it, right? And every morning I realized when I sat down in the very beginning, one of the first assignments was to visualize, and it was me drinking hot tea on my front porch. You had basically, asked, why can't you have those things now, Stephaney? And I thought, I can take myself to that every single day, even if it's just for a moment, take myself to my place of bliss. And the tea, it's like the warmth of the tea. It's me standing there with my hands around my warm cup of tea, like taking a sip, literally just breathing it all in, right? It's like the warmth. It's so stimulating. And then to visually be able to take myself, I mean, it really does take me to my place of bliss every single morning. And it doesn't matter what's going on around me. It's almost like it's that one thing I need to just say, today's gonna be a great day. Today is gonna be an amazing day. And taking myself there, the shift in emotions, right? I have 2 little kids. It gets like a little chaotic in the morning sometimes, but to take 5 seconds and just be like, today's going to be an amazing day, right? All those senses, it's just stimulated in such a great way. I think for me, it did become very physical quickly because I needed that. I needed something to ground me and go, like something to hold on to say, it's going to be a great day.
Exactly.
Which turned into, okay, this is going to be a great day.
Totally. And I love that you were able to put it in your body because I think that's that intuitive leap that a lot of people struggle with is they're like, it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day. And they're kind of muscling it and it's all intellectual and it's all up here. And there's no hormonal cascade of bliss happening with the rest of you. hormones are still in fight or flight. Therefore, your physical being is still in fight or flight, especially when you're like, I just dropped a bunch of money. Oh my God, I hope this program works. Oh my God, I have to do XYZ homework, whatever it is. I'm not getting it. Everybody else seems to be successful, whatever the story is. So having a physical ritual where, I mean, the way I was teaching it after you shared this with me is, you know, you have a sip of tea, you feel the warmth go down your throat. Imagine that that is abundance, like you're imbibing abundance. So you open every cell of your body to receive it so that you're just like, it's actually washing into you, it's going into you. There's a lot of us high achievers, it's like, it's the whole seeing is believing thing. This is how you flipped that. Literally, this is the physical way that you flipped that switch, because you were like, I'm going to take in, because there's a physical sensation associated with it. I'm able to take my mind now off the needing it to be only visual. I'm now able to ground myself back into my body. So people are like, how do I ground myself? This is how. Drink a warm beverage. It could be anything you like, right? Obviously not alcoholic, not something that's going to inebriate you, something that's going to bring clarity, not the opposite, inebriation. So drink something that's going to go deep in. And I love also that you went to a place of peace. You're just like, what's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is you feel safe. The ultimate goal, and I talk about this again in the book, the ultimate goal is peace or freedom. It's not a specific, like, I need money, I need X number of people, I need so-and-so clients, I need like blah, 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 whatever, a solution to a problem. I need to be out of debt, which is how most people think. This took you out of your head and into your body. And I love that. I just wanted to share that with everybody because that's something you can use right away. You could go get a cup of tea or coffee right now, hot water for crying out loud, and just do this right now. And then you do it once a day. It allows your body to get on board with the rest of your plan. And your body, I mean, Stephaney, you and I are mothers. Like, our bodies grew a baby, for crying out loud, while we were doing random other shit and not thinking about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
That always blows my mind.
Yes. We started calling it the tea of freedom because I felt like that was the only, if I could have any moment of freedom, right? Earlier on in the program, before I had developed really the course and the coaching, I was like, this has to be it. And it was never about money, right? Yes, we want money, but money was always to take me to a place of peace, right? And love and joy. And through you guys' coaching, I realized I didn't even give it to myself. I never even allowed myself to trust me, to love me, or to really just bask in all the joy that I had. Like my two littles, it's crazy, but why not love the crazy? I get to have these moments. And why not just completely embody all of it to have it as something beautiful? And so that was it. It was so huge. Even my sons know now. I'm always like taking a sip of my tea, and my kids are like, "Mommy, don't forget your tea."
Oh, that's awesome. That makes me so happy. So, okay. So now that we have the ritual, you were able to start where you were. And that's another thing that I really loved, Stephaney, that you embodied, is that you were willing to start where you were. You weren't comparing I mean, maybe you did internally compare yourself to other people. Sometimes people, all overachievers do that. But you were willing to be where you were at and make peace with that. Like if we asked you to sleep, you were like, okay, I'm sleep deprived, I'm dysregulated. Let me just get right with that first. You were not like, but I need to do like fucking week 2 homework or something, and be like,
no, I actually fell behind. I remember being like 4 weeks into the program, and I was like, I haven't even done the week 2 stuff. And you guys, and everyone was like, it's okay. And I was like, it is okay, because I'm good. There was so much accomplishment, right? And just being where I was and knowing that it's okay, right? I can move anywhere from here. There was so much internal, right, that was happening, so much growth, that I didn't realize that until I could actually see it, right? And that's one of the things I think, again, that we don't realize. It's the seeing is believing. Being able to come in touch with those senses. You guys taught me like so much is happening right in front of you. Feel it, right? Look for it without seeing. That's the whole fascination with the dark. I realized, oh my gosh, being in the dark is so beautiful to me now. I actually used to not like it, right? It's a sense of loneliness. That was my number one fear, being alone. And I was like, now I actually go to it for peace and to allow myself space to breathe, like to explore whatever is. It's so cool for me now to be like, okay, it's time to explore. Where am I going? What am I going to discover? because I'm not looking for it anymore.
Yes. And I want to just, oh, I just want to highlight this moment right here because I feel like the most successful, this is true of myself because I'm the oldest user of this program, not age wise, but the longest user of this program of Impact with Influence. I designed it for myself. But the most successful people, the people who are able to stay in the long game, who have steady upward momentum, are the people who stop focusing on the specifics of the outcome, which I know is ironic given the quality of the work that we do. And they're able to then receive what is there. They're able to take that pressure off. So one thing that I saw that you're able to do, we have several other clients that I think really get this intuitively, or maybe didn't get it intuitively before we started the work together, but then were able to expand into it, is you've taken the pressure off of needing to know yesterday. And you're able to be comfortable not knowing. When you're comfortable with the not knowing, that is very much the same skill as I'm comfortable being alone. If you're comfortable being alone, no one can really reject you. Then you no longer have fear of rejection, which is the number one sales killer, right?
Yeah.
When you're comfortable with whatever that horrible thing is that you fear and you learn to accept it and be with it in a safe way, your creativity is now safe and free to come out with no pressure on it to perform. You know, we all have performance anxiety. Think about it. If you had performance anxiety, you're not going to perform at your best. But if on the other hand, you're allowed to experiment, it doesn't matter if you fall off stage in your underwear shows, that would be allowed. If that were allowed, then what lengths would you go through? Yeah, what else would be allowed? What crazy innovative idea would you bring to the table? And we have a track in week 2. It's not our typical hypnotherapy tracks because we have those in every week, but we have a different track, and it's all about brainstorming, and it puts you in this altered state so that you can kind of just be with what's there. And it doesn't feel that different, but everyone who's used it can attest. It just like shifts the frequency of your thoughts in such a way that more is invited to the table. Stupid ideas and all.
I have no idea what's in that track. I know exactly what you're talking about because when I meditate, literally, I feel like I fall asleep, which I probably don't because I wake up at the end of them. But I have never heard what is in it, actually consciously remembering it. Obviously, I've heard it, but I can attest to that. I mean, I will go listen to that if I'm like, I feel funny, like I'm looking for an idea. What is it? I need something to stimulate me. And let me just go take 25 minutes and do this. And at some point that day, in the most random moments, my son will say something and I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm doing.
It's exactly that. You're able to, because you're relaxed, you're able to see the connection when it appears. Because when you're really like stressed, think about this. A really great metaphor for this is, think about it. You're really stressed, you're late, you feel late, and you're looking for your car keys. That's the time when they'll be lying right on the freaking counter and you won't see them. And you'll look in the fridge and you look at the bottom of the purse and you'll empty every drawer in the house and they'll be right freaking in front of you. You won't see them. This is the opposite of that. This allows you to have that spaciousness. You're not late. You're right on time. You're right where you need to be. No big deal. You're going to find the car keys. And if you don't find the car keys, you'll be fine. And it's then that you see the car keys because you're available to the moment.
Yes, you guys had done something really cool and taught me how to stand in the future version of myself. When I did that, like that was another thing that really helped when I positioned myself. You're talking about that opportunity and looking for it. And I realized, become the Stephaney you want to be a year from now. Stand in that person, in that power. And when I do that, it is amazing how much more, like, it's almost as if I'm looking back on the, you know what I mean? The past version of me where I currently am. There's so many more opportunities because I'm looking back, I'm already here. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'm already here. So let's see what can I do? What can I do? It's not what do I need to do? It's like, what can I do? It becomes more discoverable. And that was something that when that clicked in my head, I remember the call. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I need to do. I just need to be the future version of me now. And all of this will come. And it did. And it's literally happening. It's very surreal still, but it's actually happening.
So one of your goals was to quit your 9-to-5 when we talked, right? Yes. And then as a secondary goal, I think you wanted to retire your husband. So tell me sort of where you're at with those goals.
My husband has quit his job. He quit his job. I was 6 months in. Nope, I was 4 months in. I'm sorry, I was 4 months in, and he quit his job. And in less than a month, I am quitting my corporate job for good.
Did you imagine that you were going to be here so quickly?
Definitely not this fast. No, not at all. I'm not even a year to the date that I signed up for the program. I'm not even a year into it, and we have quit our jobs and literally live in abundance. It's very surreal to think we have these opportunities that a year ago I was freaking out about, yes, spending the money, right? Like now I'm like, we'll figure it out.
So yeah. So speaking of spending the money, obviously we're not cheap to work with, and it was a big investment. And I believe your husband did not know, correct?
No, no, I did not. I did not tell him. No, God, no.
So how did he find out? Because he knows now. So how did he find out?
Oh, yes. So with coaching calls, right? Then I continued on with you guys and coaching. And at some point he was like, so who is that? Who are you talking to? And I was like, oh, that's my coach. That's Geeta. And then I decided to show him, and he was like, what is this? And I'm like, it's my coaching program. Oh, by the way, about 4 months ago, I signed up for something. But look, I've already made the money back and then some. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, and I was like, I already made it back, so no big deal, right? He was just like, oh, okay. All right. And there was literally nothing else he said. But you could, like, at first he was just like, did you really spend that much money? But I was like, yeah, no, but I already made it back like 2 times. And he was like, okay. Like, it's just that moment of, I think for him it was a lot to find out, to hear. But then when I say, I've already made it back, he's like, okay, so what can I say, right? I mean, we have this relationship where we very much trust each other. And I say that, right? But I didn't tell him. Because I was so afraid of where we were mentally, right? To where we are now. Now to tell him if I spend that money, right? There is no scarcity, right? There is no reason not to. This program hasn't just brought me far, like he's evolved with it as well. So there's so many of these things that you bring into your everyday life, and it starts to influence, right? Your husband, your spouse, your kids. I mean, our whole household, the vibe has changed. We win every day at the kitchen table, right? We're winning. My 4.5-year-old is winning. What are you winning at today? So those rituals, they transform everyone. And like we had talked about, the first assignment you gave me, that is gold. And I go back to that and realize that it's never really about the money. It's always about the feeling of something, right? And I have all of that right now. Like I have all of that, and I'm quitting my job, and I'm so excited because the future is only as far away as you make it, man. It is really wherever you put it. And to say that in less than a year, we are unbelievably living abundantly. I mean, and receiving, I had never been so receptive to I have received the strangest things now. I'm like, the past version of me would have been like, no.
Give me an example. Like, give me an example.
An example would be, I think one example can be, even the people that you coach, right? Let's talk about criticism. Everyone says that they're very receptive of criticism, but the moment we receive criticism, we are not receptive, because it's like for me, it was immediately down on myself, right? It was, I'm not doing all these things right. For now, I just receive it with such open arms, and I'm like, all right, let's see what comes of this. And I think about it, right? And then I just like it's just a pondering thing. It's a pondering, right? It's not something that's like quick fix, like let me push a button and change this. It's how can this evolve?
How can I be with it? Right?
Yes,
how can I be with it? Feel what pieces of it might be true, what pieces of it were here to serve me. And you're comfortable with that. It's the same thing as being comfortable being alone. Doesn't mean you want to be alone. It means that if you were, you'd be okay. Just like if
yes, and like the failing, right? Like you feel like you failed. You didn't meet a goal, right? I didn't make that money back yet, or you know what I mean? Like some people go through those things, or they don't hit a goal, and then it's a fear of failure, right? To me, now I'm just like, Okay, that didn't work. Like, it's okay. Receive it. Receive that you didn't hit that goal and pivot and go explore what else could come of this. And it's so true. Like literally I feel like my mind is just like, what else is out there? It's not
Right.
like I'm looking for something specific. It's just what else is out there. And it always, like I said, it always comes to me in the most random form. Like I said, my kid will say something. He's 4.5, and I'm like, "Oh, that's brilliant! That's such an amazing idea! I'm gonna do that." And he has no idea what I'm talking about. But that's just how it clicks, right? It's like you said, just like let it sit with you and be with it. And I mean, so what? We fail. Like it's a good thing for me now. It's a part of growing, and it's a part of my journey. Because all these little failures is what has led to this great success. If I didn't have those failures, would I have gotten here? Probably not.
Most people get that intellectually. Most people have never understood how to put that in their body. And what I love about this conversation is that now they have a few things that they can try to see what fits for them, which I think is just implement, just use the wisdom, receive it, implement it, see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, come back for more. Stephaney, what would you say to somebody who is considering working with us here at Impact with Influence?
I would tell you to do exactly what I did and just do it. Because if you're looking for life-changing results, you will get it. Allow yourself to trust yourself, and it will come. It doesn't usually come in the most traditional form either, but it will come. I 1000% do not regret at all any of it that I spent and have made it back. I can't even tell you how many times. So it's valuable. It's worth it. And again, it's life changing. I mean, my husband and I are like, I'm quitting my job. My husband has quit his. We went from both working 9 to 5s, depending on them, to in less than a year not needing them at all. Right? And it's not about survival, it's about thriving. And that's where we live. We live so abundantly in what we have. There's so much value. There's so much. It's so much more than just a coaching program. It's so much more.
Aw, yay. What is the most surprising thing that happened through Impact with Influence? Because I know it's funny because we've just had a long conversation and not once have you said, oh, and then that exercise or like, well, I mean, you talked about the hypno tracks and you talked about some of the specifics you did, but none of them were tactical, right? You noticed that none of them were, oh, and then I wrote this thing and then that's when the magic started. It was all internal shifts, which of course led to you writing the thing that started the magic. It's not that that isn't the part. It's just that most people think it's the writing of the path post that will change the thing. And really it's the things that precede it that lead to the clarity that goes into the path post that change the thing. And you
Yes.
got that. And you went for it. Like few people have the courage to do. So I want to commend you on that.
Thank you. Well, see, I didn't get it though then, right? I didn't know. I didn't know that as it was happening. It's not something I could actually identify. I can look back now and see it, hindsight, right? But I didn't know that was happening. I just had to trust that wherever I was stuck at was for a reason. Wherever I was struggling, it was for a reason. And that to just make sure that I, kept an open mind. And it was like you kept using like discovery and explore. And I was like, this is me. I need to allow myself to just explore. Like, don't look for anything specific. Just
Look,
be where you are
just
and look
look.
around.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
feel around, right? Like whatever form fits you. I love that I can just sit in the dark and like feel around. It's just so different for me. Because then I don't have to be so focused. And I still do it now. I get stuck and I'm like, I'm going to the dark. I'm going to go. They become rituals that you literally use time over time over time again. And no, I mean, the exercises induce some of this stuff, right?
Yes.
But I don't remember sitting there doing the exercises and this stuff clicking. It wasn't in that moment. It was just the repetition of being able to find myself and then rediscover myself, right?
Yes.
And allow myself just trust. It's really, I feel like, about trusting yourself.
100%.
Trusting yourself when you don't even know the answer, right?
Exactly. That's the most important part. That's when you need to trust yourself the most, is when you don't have the answer. Because if your trust of yourself is conditional, which for the longest time mine was too, and I feel like I say that and I'm like, I still feel like this is a lifelong journey, right? Sometimes it still becomes conditional, or there's like a new leap, and I'm like, oh, do I trust myself for this? Like this, yes, but that, I don't know. And that's like that. It's always the same work. I designed this program to build self-trust in me. That is my one thing. And it sounds like, Stephaney, that's been your one thing, right? It's
Yes.
like just build trust in self. If you have trust in self, you've got everything you need to be wildly successful by any definition you choose to apply. And I think that that's what you have. And I remember one of the things that you struggled with as you grew, because now you've got a team, right?
Yes.
Is this how you
Yes.
lead? Like, do you lead like this? Because one of the things you were like, I don't know, I can't find the right people. And I was like, they're coming. And then we talked through
Yeah,
like,
they
get
showed up.
clear. Yeah.
Oh
Did I
my
tell you?
gosh.
Am I allowed to say
They
I told you so?
yes, and the two of them showed up in the same day, and I was just like, I don't know if this girl fits the mold, but I like it. I like her, and she fits me. And that was the biggest thing. I took what I used to build my teams in corporate, and I was like, do the same thing. Do the exact same thing. And picked people on my team that fit me, of course, fitting the program, but had the same purpose and passion. And yes, I mean, we have like 5 people on the team now, so it's growing fast.
Welcome to hypergrowth. It's its
Yes,
own
this
beast.
moment. And you know what you had said, like this is lifelong work. It really is, because every time you level up, there's a new fear. Those fears don't go away; they come back. But we can recognize, like I can recognize it now. That pit, that lump in my throat. I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. The same feeling I had when I signed up for the program. I literally was like, I'm going to throw up on the call. I remember thinking I'm about to throw up, and I'm on the call with this woman, and I'm going to throw up. And like I get that feeling, and I recognize it now. I'm like, oh, it's just a mask. What's really underlying it? Like where is this headed? Using some of the tactics you taught us, I can walk myself back, and I'm like, yeah, no, this really isn't about me being afraid of what's next. It's just I can't see it. And that's okay. I mean, you still say things to me, and I'm like, yep, no idea how that's going to happen, but totally trust it, because I've just learned I'm not ruling anything out anymore.
Love that. Thank you so much, Stephaney. This has been amazing. If you're looking for this kind of help, which is, like I said, not very conventional because it's so much more than just business building or just coaching. It's a journey of rediscovery. It's a journey of being with whatever is, whatever that looks like for you. Use the link on your screen, book a call, speak to someone on my team. If we can help you, we'll make you an offer and we'll get started. If we can't help you, we might know, because we work with coaches, we might know somebody who's a better fit, in which case we'll make a referral. No matter what, we will help. And that way you can have the same level of abundance. And yes, it can be that easy to quote
Yes.
Stephaney. And when it is, I will tell you I told you so. Just saying.
Yes. Yes. For sure. You're welcome. Thank you.